All right, we're going to have John Pavia with us right now, Quinnipiac Law adjunct professor, constitutional law expert. I love having John on because now I'm going to challenge him with two different and huge stories, right? The Trump Organization story and, of course, Britney Spears. And which one do you think I'm going to start out with? Well, naturally, Britney Spears. So, John, that's what's curious to me. If she wanted to end this conservatorship, or her lawyer, was picking her brain and said, all right, you don't like this conservatorship. Well, why not file the paperwork to get that going?
Yeah, well, number one, that is the seminal question here. And it's the same question, I think. You don't have to be a lawyer to ask that question, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, there could be a variety of reasons, Neil, but one of them could be, she maybe is not equipped to manage her own affairs, her own person. This is one of those cases where I will say, I know it's getting a lot of press, but there's probably so much we don't know about this case. And that always happens in any kind of family case, conservatorship cases. So I just don't know the answer to the question, but it's the right question to be asking.
John, I'm just curious, how common are these type of arrangements, conservatorship arrangements, period? I mean, she's not a young pop star anymore. She's approaching 40 years old. How do they sustain themselves this long?
Yeah, so conservatorship arrangements like this are not that, they're not unusual, right? But you usually see it in the case of minors, someone who has a clear mental illness. You don't really, how many times have we seen a situation where you have a very wealthy celebrity known all over the world who has been, the father has been appointed as the conservator over her business? It's not that often. And so going to the very last comment that was made, I'm in that camp where you got to do, unless there's something that's just a bright sign here as to why this has been going on, you need a thorough investigation here because a lot of it just doesn't make sense. But that being said, I know the judge here has gotten a lot of criticism reading yesterday. I'll go back to, there's probably a lot here that just we don't know that the judge does know in that file. So I'm not in that camp of criticizing the judge yet because I bet the farm that there's a ton in that file that has not seen the light of day.
John, once again, your thoughts on the Trump Organization. It's this moment in court today. And I was thinking to myself, again, you're the legal expert, I'm not, but I thought years and millions of dollars to get us to this point where the charges, at least what we're to believe, are focused on not declaring or paying taxes on benefits and perks. And that's it. And my immediate reaction was, I'm not minimizing that. Or there were times that was perfectly legal to do. I don't know what period this covers, but is this signaling the best that Cy Vance and others can get to?
It could, but let me just go back. You, me, and Charlie Gasparini were on your show over a year ago, I think. And we both said, actually, the tax investigation is the president's biggest threat because it involves things where there's not going to be any executive privilege. They'll bring it after he's president. These claims don't go away. They don't die. And he's got he probably has lots of exposure there. So I've always felt that this was the biggest threat to him. And I know, so Charlie and I agreed on that, where I heard his comments previously, and I've heard others say, this is all they've got on him. If this was the 10th guy to get indicted in this, and these were the charges, which we don't know the exact charges yet, at least I haven't seen them, maybe you did, then I would say I'm probably with you. But this is really the first domino to fall. And a lot of prosecutors, especially a guy like Mark Pomerantz, who, remember, he was a federal prosecutor, former federal prosecutor, brought over by Cy Vance to come into the DA's office, which is also a little bit odd. But he knows how to prosecute these cases. The other school of thought is he doesn't want to show his hand too early. So, I don't know what this means, but could it mean that they just, after all this investigation, this is all they've got? Could. I'm not buying into that yet. I actually think this is the first. I happen to think there's many more indictments coming, and I don't necessarily disagree with the school of thought that why show your hand too early here? Let's build the case and let's build that pyramid all leading to Donald Trump.
Interesting. So this could be like an elaborate head fake, right? People assuming, all right, that's the best you got, and they might be just getting a little too ahead of themselves.
Yeah, it may be an intentional head fake, or maybe Pomerantz just saying, look, we don't need to hit him with everything right now. We've got plenty. And this is what we're going to start with. Again, Charlie, you could be right and say, and maybe that after 5 years of investigation, all they have is, they received a lot of things that would be considered income under the tax code, and they didn't claim it properly.
Right.
So that could be true, but I'm not willing to go there yet. I actually think if I had a bet, I think this is the first of several indictments.
Well, I'll defer to your expertise. John, you ought to stick with this legal thing. It seems to be working out. So please continue doing so. John Pavia. Thank you, my friend.